Okay, as you guys can see, I'm not here today. However, Mr. Evans has been so kind to be a sub for me. Go ahead and pass out the worksheet for me. The worksheet is going to be solving multi-step equations. Now, I am going to review a couple things with you that you need to remember. One of them is the distributive property. The distributive property is exactly that. When you distribute, you are going to, if I give you a stack of papers, you're going to go ahead and I say distribute. You're going to go ahead and give a paper to every person in the class. So, this is the distributive property. A parenthesis B plus C is equal to A times B is AB. A times C is AC. Notice it's plus AC. Now, we are all so used to seeing the distributive property on the left-hand side, we never have a problem with it. However, it has also been known to be on the right-hand side. Don't freak out about it. Just know it's still the distributive property. A times B plus A times C, which is AC. Okay? No big deal. Also, opposites. The opposite of addition is subtraction. Opposite of multiplication is division. Opposite of division is multiplication. Opposite of subtraction is addition. I don't know why I just did them all weird like that with signs and words. It's all good, right? Okay. Now, if something is attached by addition on one side, to get rid of it, you are going to subtract it. Now, the biggest thing that I want you guys to do is speak mathematically to me. So in order to speak mathematically to me, you guys have to be able to do these problems. So, number one, A plus 6 is equal to negative 12. Well, the A and the 6 are attached by addition. So how do I get rid of that 6? I subtract 6 from both sides. Notice how I'm finishing my statement. Notice how I'm starting from left to right every time. So as I start from left to right, bring the A down, the 6's cancel out, negative 12, negative 6, the signs are the same. I add to give me 18, and I keep the negative sign. Okay? Now, we're going to skip around so that I can get to all different types of problems. Number 8, 2z minus negative 6 is equal to 9. Well, we have to change our subtraction to addition. So how are we going to do that? Minus a negative, bring down the 2z, the minus turns into a plus, the opposite of negative 6 is positive 6. There's your new problem. I don't even need the purple anymore, okay? Now, this is 2z plus 6 is equal to 9. How do I get rid of that 6? It's attached by addition, so to undo that, we subtract 6 from both sides. Again, did you hear the way I said that? We subtract 6 from both sides. Working from which direction? Left to right. Good. Bring down the 2z. The 6's cancel. Bring down my equal sign. 9 minus 6 is 3. Okay? Now I'm solving for 1z. Right now I have 2z. So how do I get rid of that 2? I'm going to divide both sides. Again, did you hear the both sides? By 2. The 2's cancel out. I bring down the z. And I'm left with 3 over 2. This is called an improper fraction, which I am completely fine with as long as it is a reduced improper fraction. If it's not reduced, then I'm not happy. Now, it is also 1.5, and it is also 1.5. However, if you go those extra steps, instead of leaving it as 3 over 2 and accidentally write the wrong number, I'm going to count it wrong. So rule of thumb, go ahead and leave it in its reduced improper fraction form. I'm okay with that. Okay? Next. Number 11. This is the first thing I talked about. This is the distributive property. With this being the distributive property, I need you to go ahead and distribute. So distribute means the 2 goes to the negative 3 by multiplication to give you negative 6a. And the 2 also goes to the 5 because it's inside the parentheses by multiplication to give you 10. Okay, moving on to the right-hand side. Negative 4 times a is negative 4. Negative 4 times 4 is going to be negative 16 or minus 16 or plus negative 16. I don't care how you write it. Now, from here, you guys are going to be able to do things differently. I don't care. My rule of thumb is I usually take care of my variables first. And I take the smaller variable over to the other side. Well, which one's smaller, negative 6 or negative 4? Well, the smaller one is going to be negative 6. So I'm going to add 6a to both sides. Working from left to right, again, my 6a's cancel out. I'm left with 10 is equal to negative 4 apples and 6 apples gives me 2 apples, so 2a. And I'm just going to bring down my minus 16. Some of you may have dealt with your numbers first. Either way, as long as you get the answer that I'm going to get, you're okay. The 16 is attached to the 2a by subtraction, so the opposite of subtraction is addition. So I'm going to add 16 to both sides underneath its like term. Working from what direction? Left to right. I'm going to go ahead and add straight down to give me 26 is equal to, bring down my 2a, and my 16s cancel out. How is the 2 attached to the a? It's attached by multiplication. The opposite of multiplication is division. Good. I'm going to divide both sides by 2. 26 divided by 2 is 13. Okay. Next, number 12. So number 12 is a little bit tricky. If I would be here, I would ask you all to go ahead and to do your first step. And I'm going to go ahead and let you guys do that now. But keep in mind, some of you may have to erase. So go ahead and do your first step. Okay. Many of you, I apologize if that wasn't enough time, many of you would know to distribute here. But the right-hand side is where things fall apart. Some of you may have taken the negative 5 and the negative 2 and made it negative 7. If you did that, you would be wrong. Okay? Some of you may have distributed a 2 in. Again, you would be wrong. Because what I want you to do is to distribute in and rewrite this side to make it negative 5 plus negative 2x minus 3. Because if you change that subtraction to addition, what you're going to notice is that you're going to see a negative 2 is what needs to be distributed. When you keep it as minus 2, a lot of you will forget that negative and your entire problem will be wrong then. So please go ahead. If you remember and if you are okay and you don't need to do that step, that is fine. But whenever you start missing problems and you come to me and say you don't understand why, I'm going to say, did you change your subtraction to addition? And if you didn't, I'm going to say, go sit down and do that. So let's go ahead and distribute our negative 2. Working from left to right, recopy the negative 5, letting it just hang out there until the end. That gives me negative 2x plus 6. Now, the next thing you're going to need to do is CLT. Does anybody know what CLT is? If you're answering combined like terms, then you're absolutely right. CLT is combined like terms. I'm going to leave my left-hand side alone, but my right-hand side has like terms. Negative 5 and 6 are like terms. And since they are like terms, I'm going to go ahead and combine them to give me 1 minus 2x. Now again, we have each side balanced. Now we need to go ahead and work across the equal sign. And the way we're going to do that is by going ahead and bringing our smaller x over, which is negative 2. So that's going to be adding 2x to both sides. And I have 5x plus 6 is equal to 1. I'm going to subtract the 6 from both sides. Working from left to right, 5x, the 6's cancel out. 1 minus 6 is going to be negative 5. The 5 is attached to the x by multiplication, so the way I'm going to get rid of that is by dividing both sides by 5. I'm left with x is equal to negative 1. Does that make sense? The biggest thing I want to, really push you guys to do is this step right here. This step where you are changing your subtraction to addition is so crucial so that you do not make mistakes, okay? So please make sure you're checking that out and not messing that up, all right? Number 17. Number 17 is kind of an interesting problem because it goes back to where you need to remember what was going on whenever you have a fraction equaling a fraction. But before I can address that, we have to address this negative hanging out here in the middle. When a negative is hanging out in the middle of a fraction, we have to do a little bit of explaining. For example, negative 2/3. The question I have for you is, where does that negative go? Does it go to the top? Does it go to the bottom? Does it stay in the middle? Does it go to both? What does it happens to it? Okay, well the way we determine that is we're going to simply put it in all of the places I just talked about. Negative 2/3. Is that equal to 2/3? And is that equal to negative 2/3? Are these all equal to this fraction right here? Are they equal? Are they equivalent? Well, this fraction itself up top, this is a negative fraction. Well, negative 2/3 is still a negative fraction, so we're okay. 2/3 is still a negative fraction, so we're okay. But negative divided by negative is a positive, which means this actually turns into a positive 2/3. So this right here, you cannot put the negative with both. You have to choose the top or the bottom. And sometimes, if it's a number fraction like this, generally speaking, I will go ahead and put it right on top, always. However, in the problem that we have in number 17, I have a variable up top. So where do you suppose would be the better place to put this negative? If you answered the top, you're not wrong. If you answered the bottom, you're not wrong. However, the easier, less steps would be to put it in the bottom with the 3. And the reason why is because if I put it with the top with the x, I'm going to have to divide by a negative, and we don't want to divide by a negative. That's another step that's not necessary to do. Now, does anybody in here know how to get rid of that x that's attached, that negative 3 that's attached to the x? It's attached by division, so if you're saying multiplication, you're absolutely right. But I'm going to teach you a different way, because I want your brain to constantly say this concept right here. If you have a fraction equal to a fraction, then you are going to cross multiply always. Always, always, always. So you're going to simply go, x times 9 is 9x. Negative 3 times 4 is negative 12. And it doesn't matter how much junk you have in the numerator and how much junk you have in each denominator. As long as you have one single fraction equal to one single fraction, you are automatically able to cross multiply anytime. So I'm going to divide both sides by 9. And x is going to be equal to negative 12/9. If you leave this on your paper, I will mark it wrong. Why? Because it's not a reduced improper fraction. They both have a common factor of 4 in there. So negative 12 divided by 4 is going to be negative 3. 9 divided by, they both have a common factor of 3. I don't know what's going on with me, sorry. Negative 12 divided by 3 is negative 4. 9 divided by 3 is 3. I apologize for that. To give you negative 4/3. Okay? That is your reduced improper fraction, the fraction that I will accept. You also could do negative 1 1/3. However, why go that extra step and force yourself to possibly make a mistake? So just go ahead and leave it alone. Number 19. Number 19, I believe, is one of the only ones that you guys have on this paper that kind of will throw you for a loop. And I'm going to give you a little hint. Go ahead and put the 6 and the 9 over 1. If you put the 6 and the 9 over 1, go ahead and multiply tops and multiply bottoms. So how about I go ahead and give you that hint. If I am multiplying 2/3 times, let's say 12 12/7, okay? You can multiply tops and bottoms to give you 24/21, and then reduce that down because they both have a 3 in them, 8/7. It would be the correct answer. Or you can go ahead and do the same problem and say, well, this 3 becomes a 1 because 12 is divisible by 3 to give you a 4, and then 2 times 4 is 8, 1 times 7 is 7. And you can get that in one step by doing cross-canceling, which the bottom one is where I want you to get in by the end of the year, okay? Get in, used to being able to do that. So whenever you come over here, very simple. 1 times 6 is 6. 3 times 1 is 3. Why? 1 times 9 is 9. 3 times 1 is 3. Now I'm showing you the top way, but I want you to do the bottom way tonight for homework to see if you can do it. And I'm going to go ahead and let you guys finish this just because you guys should be able to do it from here. Tonight for homework over the weekend is going to be solving the equations. Make sure you get this done and hand it in to me on Monday. I will answer any questions you have. We're going to be looking at a test probably on Tuesday over integers, order of operations, and solving multi-step equations. Do not fret. If you have any questions, I will check the message board online. I don't know that I'll be able to a lot this weekend because I will be camping, but whenever I get home on Sunday, I will be sure to check. If you need anything, use the message board and help each other out, okay? If not, I will help you whenever I get back on Monday. Have a great weekend, folks. Thank you, Mr. Evans.